The Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria has reintroduced its mentoring scheme. This was announced at a virtual event titled Unlocking Career Potential and Possibilities. The initiative aims at upscaling the leadership capacity and productivity of workers within the financial and banking sector. Joining us for his take on these headlines is Arise business analyst Chika Nbono. Chika, you're very, very welcome. Thanks for joining us. So I want to ask you, starting on the CIBN mentorship scheme that it's resuscitating here, well, how important is mentorship in the banking sector for financial services?
Not just only in the financial services sector. It's very important as a human capacity development initiative. It's one of the ways you can actually help in expanding the quality of labor that we have in the industry. Sharing experience, passing up good initiatives and character, and then it helps to grow the industry. So yes, for the banking industry, at the last count, about 100,000 plus minus, total employees in the banking system. So it is a very good initiative for the industry.
Fantastic. What's your assessment of the current crop of bankers, I guess, that we have in the system?
Good question. After the consolidation exercise that happened, the banking industry in Nigeria expanded, grew exponentially, and that put a lot of strain on the number of available bankers' experience, in the industry.
Okay.
And so it put a stretch on it, and so you found. I'm a capacity builder in the banking industry, so I can make those comments.
Yes,
you found what I call how man for do bankers.
Okay.
They couldn't do any other thing, but they had to come into the banking industry. And usually there's supposed to be a programmed career development, inductions, new entrance school for some banks. It lasts about 3 months, where you taught the elements of banking and everything before you even touch the customer. You spend about three months in that banking school. Now, because of the issues had then, a lot of people were just like a war, where normally people should pass through the training before they go to the war, but the war is there you just take people and just put in the war front. A lot of people were just put in the banking system to go and serve customers without the proper training. And so that impacted the quality of employees. So he found people who would have had 2, 3, 4 years, even sometimes 5, 7 years experience in banking, and the foundational issues in banking, they do not know. They just know how to mobilize deposits. But that phase has essentially passed in the industry, and a lot of banks now are actually investing in capacity building and trying to correct the gaps in the past, and investing so much in the capacity building. And I'm just aware of that. So a lot of banks are working towards enhancing the quality of the employees. And I hasten to say that on the sophisticated banking products, Nigerian banks are well qualified to handle them.
Great stuff. So what about the next generation of bankers? Some that you've trained under you, that you've talked about, the up and coming class. How do you down the road? What about their capacity to be able to?
There's less pressure now. A lot of banks I know now have structured induction, new entrance school now. They call it graduate development programs. So people sit down, spend some 3 months there, and then learn the rudiments of banking before they just go and touch the customers. And so they spend a lot of time there. And, something else is happening. There's a skill dynamics change. A lot of things are moving from the manual things that we know to the digital realm.
Yes.
So like I tell the young bankers now, anybody that doesn't have some digital banking skills may be left out. So as you're acquiring the conventional banking skills, you must also, in the digital realm, be well knowledgeable.
Okay, and so speaking of which, when we've analyzed results with you here for banks, you've talked about electronic banking fees and so on and so forth. For the digital age, how ready is the sector moving forward?
Very ready, actually very ready. Because without the readiness of the industry, we would have had it very difficult during the COVID lockdown. It's because of the investment a lot of banks in Nigeria have made in the digital realm, equipment and skills that helped us, go through the lockdown. Lockdown for substantially almost 5 months, and banking activities took place. And so the banking industry was ready. Indeed, as I tell a lot of banks when I work with them, a lot of Nigerian banks have actually overinvested in technology. A lot of them have technology software they're not even using, and so Nigerian banks had made a lot of investment in technology, and have gone out there to acquire necessary skills, but there's still upskilling required to get us to the level that we should be. Remember what I told you, that the new thing now is what I call phygital. in a combination of the physical and the digital. You know, and so some limited footprint, and then a lot of things now in the digital realm.
Fantastic. When you talked about training programs, you emphasized the banks though, and systems going through the banks themselves. What about the wider education system, curriculums in school?
I've found the lacuna, a big gap there in the, I was involved in the development of some framework for the conventional bank, for the Nigerian educational system, and I compared it to what happens in the West. And even from the kindergarten, people are taught about money. And that is missing our curriculum here. A lot of people don't understand savings and stuff like that, or other products, until they enter into they start working.
Right.
So you have to build a habit from the kindergarten to the primary school, to the nursery school, to the primary school and secondary schools, and then to the universities. So that people, understand the language of the stock market, savings account, current accounts, and so on and so forth. Or the education in the financial education, and then so that people get aware of it. That has been lacking in our educational system.
Thank you so much for that. So by and large, this CIB Mentorship Program, it's a good thing that is coming back. Fantastic. I want to get your take on other matters.
Let's talk about the oil,
the fuel. Yes. Okay. So
that's moving to one. When Nigeria wanted to deregulate the oil price market, everybody, and remember the initiative started when the oil price was about $30 per barrel. So everybody, the financial press, traditionally and locally, told them that this is not the challenge. The challenge is when the oil price inches up to $60, $70, $80 per barrel. Will you be able to hold it? Will you have the political will to do that? And like the typical Nigerian response, that's no going back. That's no going back. Right. That's the response. But you see, where things are done properly, you would have done a lot of scenario planning analysis, and so they can have a response, a very detailed response, thought out response. If the oil price is at $50 per barrel, what I'm going to do? If it's at $80, what I'm going to do? And then, so that when that happens, you can pull it up from the shelf and implement. Now we're having governors and presidency meeting to discuss oil price and petroleum price and electricity price and so on and so forth. I don't know where that's headed. It just had to do with the fact that the Nigerian politicians' vocabulary is always "there's no going back." There's no going back. There's no going back on this thing or the regulation. But that's not a response. What do you exactly do when the oil price moves to $60 per barrel, $80 per barrel, and so on and so forth? How does it impact the society? Now, let me put out the big picture there. The big picture there is that the Nigerian economy cannot sustain the level of subsidy that we've had in the past. Not with how much you are servicing. You saw how much you paid, almost more than 3 million naira, 3 trillion naira in servicing debts. So we're borrowing to be subsidizing. We can't sustain it. When you find 3 trillion using service debts, only about less than 2 trillion in capital expenditure. This economy cannot, it's just like an aircraft, it just drop. You won't be able to lift up. That's what's going to happen. So everybody has to put in his thinking cap, which I thought they would have thought about all this before now, ages ago. Not like, there's no going back, and then we'll come to that. And so I'm hoping that the meeting of the governors and everybody will handle the political side and to make sure that we'll land this in properly.
Thanks. You've used some aircraft analogies there, in, the landing and so on. What do you make of this Boeing?
I can imagine that being in that aircraft that you saw, the 777-200, that the engine, part of the engine, flared. And he saw some of it fell off into other people's roofs, houses and stuff like that. I can imagine that in the Nigerian flight, the amount of prayers that would have been blasting in tongues and stuff like that that would have been happening, because it was scary. Now, but see, the issue is it's a 777-200 classic, I think. And now, one of the major components of planes, forget about the hull, is the engines. Now, this particular engine is a P&W engine, Pratt & Whitney engine, 4,112. Now, there are only about 128 planes worldwide that this engine is inside, that's carrying this engine. About most of them are United Airlines aircraft. The other ones are Japan and South Korean aircraft. Now, so that's no Nigerian plane. That's carrying that engine. Now, United doesn't come to Nigeria. The South Korea and Japan Airlines don't come to Nigeria. So those issues are not very relevant here. We're only relevant when we're doing overflying Nigeria, and that's when NCAA may have issues and saying any aircraft that's carrying that engine cannot overfly here. But it's United, South Korea, and Japan Airlines. But the airline industry is very, sophisticated and regulated.
Yes.
Now, even they do a lot of self-regulation. Even before FAA and Boeing spoke, the United Airlines actually grounded all the aircraft. But the Japanese airline said they started it first, and they grounded all the aircraft. So that's basically what it is. We don't have any aircraft in Nigeria. The 77200 that in Nigeria have APSAS, and then I think other Max or Airsman, I don't have it, but they don't carry these engines.
Fantastic. So you're saying to do, let's worry not is essentially what you're saying.
Yeah, they don't carry the engines. Yeah.
Okay. Now, on the back to the just real quick, just only got a couple of minutes left on the bankers, Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria and the mentorship program. You mentioned earlier that mentorship isn't something that should be focused just on the banking sector. It should be wide. It should be widespread. Yeah. So okay. And is that? Can we look towards seeing other organizations in other sectors make this kind of announcement where we can see more mentorship programs popping up?
It's very relevant because you see, when you have a country that has a high level of unemployment,
yes,
and even out of the market that's going to employable, 160% of it are people who are below 30 years old.
Yes.
So there's a lot of room for direction and guidance. Now, what we'll find out outside there is a lot of people leave the universities without the requisite skills for the labor market. They're not employable.
Right.
And so they need to be, countries like India, they have institutions where people who leave university are trained, prepared for 3 months, for 4 months sometimes, on the skills they require in the job place. Emotional intelligence, communication writing, even things like how to write proposals, how to write emails,
right,
office etiquettes, and so on and so forth, to prepare them for the labor market. These are the elements that we require in the mentorship program. And the Minister of Labor and Employment should actually be pushing for things like this. Whereas other organizations, apart from the banking sector, should actually work towards that. Especially when they have structured industries, like telecom.
Right.
Also, even the manufacturing. A lot of manufacturing companies are actually, all the Guinness, all the Nigerian breweries, they have a structured graduate development program, and they've been that for a long time. So this is what we recommend for the whole Nigerian labor market.
Fantastic stuff. Arise business analyst Chika Nbono. Chika, we always appreciate your insights. Thank you so much for coming on the show.